Hey, what's up with y'all? It's Rose Gold Empathy, and welcome to the second episode of this sort of extended version of the Roses with Empathy podcast, where my sort of chief goal is really to bridge the gap between my Instagram story content, which is like usually life advice or just, musings and whatever, and my music, which is pretty much the same, like me venting, but it's definitely more structured, and I have certain recurring themes that I try and highlight. So that's what this is for. Welcome back. And if you remembered from my last episode, this is really sort of an informal, not really rigidly, planned out sort of discussion. I'm just going to talk about what I've been thinking about lately, and just sharing my thoughts, and hopefully some aspect of all of this sort of rambling will be helpful to you and beneficial. That's always my goal. So let's just get right into it. So basically, I had come across this sort of epiphany, or an epiphany had came across me, and basically this epiphany revolved around this idea of staying warm. So what does that mean? Well, in the way that it came to me, it was sort of, I'm thinking about how many people I've talked to that have had serious, just traumatic or just outright uncomfortable situations happen to them. And as a result, they live their life guarded or really on edge, paranoid, distrustful, and even deceitful in order to one up the person they think is trying to harm them before they can even have any harm done to them. I think a lot of us affectionately call this trust issues, right? And I think trust issues have been sort of epitomized by a lot of modern music, especially from certain artists. I think we're pushing that narrative. I'm not going to say any names, but I think trust issues have become something that we not only have universally bonded over, but moreover have used as an excuse to not hold ourselves accountable, or to hold others accountable for their just, really unfavorable, unhealed behavior. Like, sis, you're toxic. Come on. But more importantly, I think that in order for us to move forward in any sense, we have to understand that we are not all each other's enemy. And whenever I say or I talk about anything of this nature, I sort of have a duh moment in my head because it just seems so commonsensical to me. But I'm telling you, a lot of people that I have encountered sort of use their trust issues as sort of a trophy, in the sense that they can avoid the most pain because they don't let anybody in. And then there's also people on the other end of the spectrum, more so like me, who I myself am still healing and struggling with trust issues, but I'm aware of it, and I don't want to take it as some sort of thing that I hold high over my head, that this is what I've been seeing. But there's people on the other end of the spectrum that sort of have this view that I have trust issues. It's not a trophy, and I haven't just dodged everything by not letting anyone in, but more so it sucks that I could never get the same love that I receive. It sucks that people be tripping. You feel me? It just sucks. And because of that, I also won't let people in, but I'm not proud of it. I might say things like, this hurts me more than it hurts you, or it's not you, it's me, or I don't want to hurt you, before even getting into anything where that would be a possibility. Really what I'm aiming at is self-sabotage, which ruins our lives all the time. And I think in the sort of woke and spiritual community, it's sort of, a lot of people have this sort of toxic optimism that comes with trust issues. I call these hood quotes, because that's usually the pages. It will be hood memes or hood vids that will show up in my feed. And, it will sort of be a picture of a random celebrity and then a random quote that they may or may not have said, but it's supposed to be motivational. It's just always sort of ironic and comical to me. But I saw this one hood quote that said I done been through the mud so much, but I'm not gonna do no one else dirty. And I said, well, hey, this is definitely in the right direction. I think it was a picture of a little baby or something. I'm not sure. But I think it's really important to consider sort of the media that we are intaking every day and what messages are being sent through said media. And like, that's another sort of way of me saying stay woke. But really, like, tune in with yourself, because for me, like, even though I'm on that sort of end of the spectrum where I have this sort of like self-pity in a way, I am very much so aware that like there are people worth trusting, and that in a sense we trust even though we don't want to, like all the time. Like, we get into the car with Uber drivers, you cannot tell me you don't trust them. Like, you're just not aware of just how much trust you're giving, for example. Or I trust this chair to keep supporting me. I trust my computer to keep working, right? I trust my phone to keep recording right now. Like, trust is everywhere. And the more that we deny ourselves the sort of awareness of the fact that we do give out our trust, and that there are plenty of times that we give our trust and we're not hurt, the more we prolong that, the worse things are going to be for us, I feel like. Definitely. And sort of as it relates to how we can stay warm and not have this sort of toxic narrative being pushed around that we have to be cold-hearted in order to survive, quote unquote, or in order to live a life in which it's pain-free, quote unquote, right? Which, let me just note, I think that rhetoric is so problematic, because, I mean, although you may be dodging sort of deceit by being deceitful yourself, or by not letting anyone get the chance to get into you to make you be deceived, you're still hurting because you can't open up to anybody, right? Like, you're hurting. Like, we're hurting when we just keep pushing people away. And this is not to be like such a point at any person, but the ideas itself, I think, are highly critiquable. And why did we just stop critiquing things? It's because we don't think. People think they think, but they don't think. And, you know, as it relates to like how we can be warm, I think sort of the solution is to acknowledge the spaces in which we do feel like more susceptible to getting hurt, or the spaces in which we do feel like we can't truly be ourselves, the spaces in which we do feel lonely in a group full of people, and ask ourselves, what are the patterns that we keep recognizing that we sort of convince ourselves don't exist out of fear for actually digging deep? Like, I'm telling y'all, being woke is not fun. It's not fun for me. Like, when you're aware of the things that you need to fix to get your shit together, it's sort of like, wow, what are you going to do? And so I need us all to ask ourselves, what are we going to do? What are we doing, and what are we going to do? And I promise you, when we look at this as a group collectively, continuously, until it becomes sort of systematic in the sort of overarching way of disseminating and processing information, we will be so much more powerful, I promise you, because we won't be toxic. We will be emotionally intelligent. We will be intentional. We will be careful, like literally careful, like careful. Like, I'm going to do an episode all about words and synonyms and language really soon, y'all. But careful, literally, to put care into the things we do. It doesn't necessarily mean you're scared because you're careful, or like you're like, I don't know, less of a person, like, for example, less of a man because you're proceeding with caution. Like, we can be so calculated and still be so loving. We don't have to be distrustful and always being quiet about our next move. Like, I really just can't stand this narrative that I see on Instagram and really all social media, but I really only use Instagram, y'all. But this narrative of like, you know, everything is like, we can't tell nobody nothing. Like, and I get the idea behind it. Like, don't tell small-minded people big ideas, right? Like, I get that. But like, help the small-minded people get to that big-minded place. And small-minded people understand that your mind is not that small. Like, you can unlock more of it. Like, we got to help each other out. We just silencing each other. We cancel each other and we put each other under the rug. And that's the end of us. So 20 years from now, how can we expect to have any sort of kingdom or anything to stand on if all we doing is tearing each other down and not letting each other grow? Like, that is something that we have got to change. Like, I'm telling you, it's something we got to change. And to stay warm for me, because I feel like I'm a very warm person and I've been through the coldest of the cold. Like, put me in the freezer, like I've been through the cold and I'm still going through, like, the world can be so cold, but I cannot walk around with a chip on my shoulder. I may push people away a little bit. I may be hesitant to open up. I may be hesitant to be honest with myself, but at the same time, I'm not bitter. Like, and a lot of people are bitter, and the solution to bitterness is having some sweet balance it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's real talk. Like, we put sugar and creamer in coffee. Like, you see what I'm saying? Now, look, the problem it becomes is like, you don't want to put so much creamer and sugar that you become sort of complacent. And, you know, everybody just, like, I don't know, has such a easy time. So they think understanding and processing you and feeling you, experiencing you, when in actuality, like, they're missing all of your full bowl flavors that would be there if you didn't cover it up, right? Like, I hope you can get the metaphor. But, you know, the bigger point I'm trying to make is, like, it's all about balance. Like, no matter what it is, like, when we want to stay warm, you know, you can't be having the heat too low or you're gonna be cold again. You can't have it too high or you're gonna be too hot. So you got to stay warm. So you got to balance. Like, it's all a balancing act, for real. It's all a balancing act. And let me tell y'all something. Like, just a few years ago, I was just living so bitter. Like, I've been living so bitter with a chip on my shoulder, feeling like, you know, like, F the world, like, nobody care about me, like, no one could ever feel this pain I'm going through. And that's a whole nother subject. But, like, let me tell y'all something about the roles in people's lives. Like, not everyone has a role to be there for you. So the people you claim and played you and all that stuff, like, no, they didn't play you. They were playing their role in their life to help you get off the bench and to go to the next step in your life. Because if life is a game, then we all got our own roles in it. And, like, not everybody's meant to be there for you, dog. Like, that's just real talk. So it's just so many things, like, I just really want us to think about, because it's just crazy to think that we are all living in our 20s and 30s. And I'm talking to my community here, like, especially my young Black community, young queer community. Like, we are all sitting here just hating ourselves, hating our lives, and we haven't even lived as much of it as, like, we should. And I mean, like, not even just existing while the time is passing, but to live, to feel alive. And it's so sad. Like, it's something I think we really do need to change. And it's something I feel like we can't change until we all become aware that, one, we need to change, and that we actually can change it. I see a lot of disappointed and discouraged people in my age group. And that's primarily because I think of sort of lack of guidance from the older communities that were before us. They have sort of a, you know, pissed off attitude, like, y'all don't want to do it our way. It's no way. But really, we can all help each other out. But again, that's another subject. But I just really was thinking about staying warm. And those are my thoughts for now. I'm out of time, but I'm going to catch y'all next episode with something about language. So let me know what you think in the comments.